Figure we'll go live as normal with the band hammer and everything. All right, start recording. 3, 2, 1.
Attention all Magic the Gathering players. Banhammer missiles are incoming. Repeat, Banhammer missiles are incoming. Proceed to your nearest Banhammer shelter. This is not a drill. Repeat, proceed to your nearest Banhammer shelter and await further instructions. And now, PlanesTalkers.
Greetings, salutations, and welcome to the PlanesTalkers podcast, a show by casuals for casuals. I'm your host, Will Benson, joined as always by my, hey, it was Valentine's Day this weekend, and all I got was this silly t-shirt co-host, Aramis Perez. Aramis, how are you, sir?
I got more than a t-shirt.
Did you? Oh, I never found out what you got. We should talk about that at some point. In fact, why don't we usually we do that right in the untap for...
Untap, keep and draw.
All right, but before we even get to that, before we do anything else, we want to remind you guys that this episode and every episode of the PlanesTalkers podcast is sponsored by the Kerwin's Game Store. Kerwin's Game Store is New York State's premier source for collectible card games, trading card games, tabletop games, miniatures, comic books, retro video games, and toys. With their clean, open gaming areas available to everyone at no charge someday, maybe if COVID ever decides to really take a hike this time. Kerwin's provides a fun and inviting atmosphere for new and experienced gamers alike. They have locations in both Catskill, New York, and Poughkeepsie, New York, in the new Galleria. Kerwin's Game Store is the absolute best place in gaming. Now, they have a great website. You should definitely check this out. KGS Online. That's KiteGoSamuelOnline.com. And if you use the promo code PlanesTalkers at checkout, you'll get 5% off that order. That's PlanesTalkers. Believe me, KGS Online, great place to go. We also want to take a second to recognize our Planeswalker patrons. Brian, David, Jonathan, Johnny, Bell, Anthony, Steve, Mark, George, Josh, Zach, Ian, and Randy. Guys, we really appreciate you. We couldn't do this show without you. You guys know how important you are. These guys help out the show in so many ways. They're eligible to play with us on Wednesday nights for the Playcast. They're eligible to join us for various calls. They get first dibs whenever we do the Win-A-Box promo, which we'll be doing for Strixhaven. So we have a ton of great perks. We want you guys to check it out. That's all we're going to say about it. Just go to patreon.com/planestalkers. It really does help keep the show running. Also, we want to remind you we are a top 25 MTG podcast on FeedSpot. Go to blog.feedspot.com/magic_the_gathering_podcasts. Again, we didn't write that. But check it out. I think we're number 13. I think we might have moved up one. So, and finally, we want to remind you guys that we are the proud flagship podcast of the PlanesTalkers network of podcasts. Our sister show right now is Commander Craft. It's been on a brief hiatus thanks to the coronavirus and all this other stuff with Anthony getting his system set up, but he keeps sending pictures to the Discord of what's coming, so we're very excited for that. They're going to get their show up here sooner than later. You can find out more about them at all the various places online. Just go check Commander Craft MTG on the Twitches, on the Facebooks, on the, I don't know if there's an Instagram, but and their Discord is discord.commandercraftmtg.com. And don't forget, guys, we do have our Playcast coming up this Wednesday. We're doing Paper Magic. I do believe we're playing the Precons this week, the Kaldheim Precons. We're going to take a week off of our league play, which I do believe I'm, again, the reigning champ on that one.
Actually, it's still preseason, so none of it counts.
Yeah, we really do need to talk about the scores because I've been lighting it up like crazy, man, here. But check that out Wednesday night around 7:15ish. Aramis, how the hell are you, man? What's been going on? What's your
I'm doing good. Before we came on the air tonight.
Wait.
I
hate to interrupt you, but
God.
we are untapping. So another trial by a wombat.
God.
So yes, this is a beautiful thing.
If the can was square, I think that'd be even better.
Oh, this is so good. This was so good last week. I love this. This is like.
So yeah. Anyway,
go ahead. Sorry.
what I was doing before we came on the show, my son last week celebrated his 7th birthday, so he had like a gift card to like Amazon that he could spend. And he told me, "Oh, I really, really want this. So can we please get it?" I'm like, "Okay, sure." It's one of my favorite games of all time. So we just picked up and started playing Super Smash Brothers Ultimate.
And
what,
you got
a
Switch?
Yeah.
I hate you.
Had a Switch for like what, a year and a half now?
I've never liked you.
Technically, it's his Switch. It's his Switch technically. We got it for him.
Yeah, I want a Switch. I would love to have a Switch. The Switch would be awesome. A Switch would be really nice for me to have.
You can just stop.
You need to stop. Yeah, I heard that.
Well, she's
but yeah,
she's
just started playing that. It's a blast. It's one of my favorite game series of all time. So doing some of that, playing a little bit of Magic.
So what'd you do for the big Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day, it was pretty low key. There's not really a whole lot you can do with the pandemic going on. So we got each other some small gifts. She went and treated herself to a nice dinner, and we just kind of hung out.
We exchanged gifts actually last week. Wendy got me this really, really nice little like package of candy, like, because I'm diabetic, so it's kind of a treat. It was really kind of cool, and I went and bought her a phone. So
Thanks, hon. Thank you.
Well, she let me. The wife let me go to Kerwin's and spend money. So.
Ooh, what'd you get? Stuff. Is this for
things?
Cards for Wednesday or next Wednesday?
No, it was mostly sleeves.
Oh, okay.
Mostly like up a bunch of sleeves. Because what I've been doing is, as I've been building commander decks, I've been getting new Ultra Pro Satin towers for them.
Oh, nice.
And now what I'm doing is I'm getting matching sleeves for the towers.
You're such a nerd.
I am a nerd, but it looks really cool. Like I got these nice umber colored sleeves for my Slimefoot deck, which is in a wood grain box. Really nice.
So yeah, we had a nice Valentine's. So we hung out. We got rid of the kids a little bit early because it was Sunday, so we swapped them over anyway, and we just had a good night together. And then Monday I worked from home because a lot of people were off, and then at where I work, so they were like, "Why don't you work from home?" So I did. And then this morning, actually, because of the ice storm, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna wait till it warms up. I'll go into work around 10. So I worked from home for 3 more hours here. I'm loving that. The whole opportunity to just be like, I don't think I'm gonna go in today. I'm gonna work from here, and then I'll go in later. So.
Yeah. The flexibility is nice. I'm hoping that once all this is over, a lot of those companies are like, as long as you're doing what you need to do.
Well, they just, they're like very cool and very, it's weird. I work for a different division than the division that I'm in. So I'm kind of like supporting them. So my division's kind of like, look, we want you on site as much as you can be. However, if it's bad weather or something, there's no reason not to. You've got a ton of connectivity. I'm like, all right, it's game on. All right, then.
It's the way things work today. I really feel like if your job is able to work from home in any capacity, and you can at least prove that you can do the work from home, there's no reason not to. Zero reason not to work from home.
It is a skill. It is a skill you have to learn.
It is a skill. Yes.
Not everybody can do it. I did it for 4 years. That's kind of why I still have my chops. Like, it was like a muscle that when last year during the whole COVID thing, I had to like retrain my muscle and be like, okay, wow, do not isolate that audio. I had to
going back, clipping that, and done.
I had to go retrain them. I had to go retrain on how to do it. But once I did, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how much I really enjoy this. Like, it's like, okay, you got to remember to get up and go take your breaks and be militant about it. But when you're at work, you're working. It was cool, and so I'm digging the gig. Valentine's Day was kind of nice. We really enjoyed the weekend. The cat went in, and we got the cat fixed. So,
yay!
Yeah, we're gonna try to keep him. The one who took a chunk out of Izzy, and Izzy's doing fine. So we are gonna try to keep him. And
so the foaming at the mouth has subsided.
Yeah, everything like that. She's no longer scratching her ear with her feet. So we're very happy about that. She still rubs up against the furniture, but I'm not so sure she didn't always do that. So But in any event, this weekend it's going to be nice. We don't have kids, so I'm sure we'll do some like dinner or something. We tend to try to go out at least once and socially distance. We got little restaurants where we know there aren't people, so or usually we do takeout. So
I did forget to mention,
yeah.
over the weekend, I was able to get a game in with the wife.
Ooh, how'd you do?
Well, I feel bad for her because
Okay.
before we started, she was like, okay, well, Ollie's going to be my helper. I'm like, all right, cool, that's fine. So I had all the decks laid out with all the commanders on top so she could pick whichever one she wanted. She goes, Ollie, why don't you pick? He goes, okay, I want the one in the rainbow box. That was Kenrith.
Oh dear.
That's 5 colors. That's God Tribal. It's probably the most complicated deck to play. And I was
and
like,
it's
I'm sorry,
pretty
babe.
slow. It's the slowest deck you got.
It's slow, yeah, but it's also like, this may be her 5th or 6th game that she's played, and she's like, what the hell's devotion?
Dude, you had us last week on that deck. If it wasn't for, oh my God, I can make everything not indestructible. Yes.
Well, I mean, I didn't have any other than that. I really wasn't doing a lot. You just couldn't attack me, and I was poking you for 2 damage every turn. But that was about it.
I was like, this. You had us. You not being able to attack.
It would have taken forever, though. I had no end game at that point. I was just like, all right, well, poke.
I was like, oh, thank Christ. I was like, the minute I saw, what was it, the Soul Spear or whatever it's called there? It's like
Shadow Spear and Bane of Progress. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, because I had Bane of Progress as one of my 7 initially, and I was like, can't play it. God damn it, can't play it. So I was like, okay, and then once the Shadow, I was like, yes. I think I even said yes. So,
probably did.
But yeah, that was Wednesday. Tune in for our playcast again. Have you figured out what deck you're going to play this week?
Nope. Whatever you want me to do.
Yeah, Anthony and Steve, man, let us know what decks you guys are going to play. I have a feeling Steve's going to be playing the white blue. So I think Anthony's going to probably playing. Yep,
Steve is white blue.
So I imagine Anthony's probably going to play the elf deck, and then you and I have to decide, and then we have to figure out if we're going to try to 2-head giant in it, or or what. So whatevs. It'll be fun. So, but we also have a great show that's Wednesday. We can deal with that. That's tomorrow. Hey, by the way, last night I was just a little under the weather. I've had this sinus thing, and I just was like, you know what? I don't want to go on and just be like, what's up? So, even though we had a major, because I knew this major ban announcement yesterday, I was like, we need to be on top of our game, and I knew we weren't going to have a good show last night. So thank you guys for being patient with us, as well as those who might be listening to the audio podcast. You might realize that your audio episode just showed up today because I might forgot to upload it. I had it edited down. It's on my computer. It was on my desktop. I might have forgot to put it on Anchor. So yeah, that was that happened. So I have one job, and well, damn it. So anyway, tonight we're going to kind of have listen, if you guys listen to any Magic podcast, even this one, which tends to be standard, obviously tonight we're not talking standard very much because the fact is the ban hammer hit yesterday, and it hit everybody but standard. But you can't not talk about it. I mean, this is the biggest news in Magic. All your podcasts can be talking about it this week. So we're obviously going to hop right on that train. So we're going to talk a little bit about the standard or about the ban yesterday. Oh, and then we're going to have a train wreck.
And boom goes the dynamite.
Anyway, moving on. So... So tonight we're going to talk a lot about the ban that came out yesterday. Basically, we're going to talk about the historic ban, Pioneer, Modern, Legacy. We're going to talk about the Vintage unbanning for a little bit. Combat's going to be interesting because this is actually bringing up a thing. I've been looking on the Reddits, and I understand what a dumpster fire Reddit can be. But there are even other content creators out there that are talking about, they're starting to really question Wizards' motives lately about, hey, you're creating all these broken cards. Why in the hell would you do it if you're just going to ban them? And a few people have posited the idea that perhaps Wizard wants that. They're like, look, we're going to print these broken, incredibly insane cards and then, and sell the boxes and sell you this stuff and because it sells boxes and it sells the collector's edition, and then we're going to ban the card. So right. The Yu-Gi-Oh plan. So we want to we're going to combat on that, me and Aramis. And then we're going to talk in main 2. We'll talk a little bit about stated standard if there's time. There hasn't been a lot of change. There has been some. So we'll go through that as well. But that's our show tonight. But let's get right into it. Let's go into main.
Main phase.
All right, main phase. So yeah, as we said at the top of the show here, this was a Banhammer week, man. They had told us last week when they were introducing the secret lair that they were going to ban Uro, and they did that on Tuesday. I'm like, why couldn't you do it Monday, you fuckers? And we have explicit. But I was like, why the hell can't you do that on Monday? So Tuesday they announced that they are planning a ban for Uro, probably in at least, they actually told us it was like Pioneer, Modern, Legacy, Vintage. Like they went through the whole list.
Right.
And they did that because they're putting out secret lairs, which normally we would talk about secret lairs, but not this week. So, and I'm really, don't get me wrong, I'm glad they did, because last week was a secret lair ordering, and if I had ordered Uro planning to put it in my decks, I'd be pissed, and so they got ahead of that, and kudos to them for doing that.
Yeah, I'm glad they did that.
But, I mean, and I think we all kind of thought there'd be a little bit more, but I don't think anybody was planning for how much more we got. And, I mean, they kind of opened up with it right at the top of the B&R, where they kind of mentioned, they're like, look, yeah, this one's big, but during the pandemic, we were kind of like, look, what are we going to ban paper for? Who's playing? And I'm like, fair point. So they basically, it's almost like they did a catch up. Now, and that's the thing. There's 15 cards on this list. And I got to be honest with you. Not 15 cards. It's like 15 bans, but like 13 cards. Because Uro pretty much gets banned everywhere. Basically, it does kind of bring up points that, again, we'll talk about in combat. But, at the end of the day, you're sitting here and you've got, you're putting out, you're doing quote unquote like a catch up, and that's kind of what they say here. So you would have had to ban 15 cards this year, or 15 cards in like 8 months. That's still too fracking many. Anyway, again, combat. So we're gonna go down the list here about the Banhammer. It came out, the BNR. You can find it at magic.wizards.com. It's their big article there. You can't miss it. Or look up in the Googles.
It's still on their front. It's still on their front page, but it's not on like it doesn't have like the image over it. You sort of have to go to the right hand side, the little side panels.
So Google's your best bet. But I mean, and you should read it because there's a lot of good information in here. We're gonna skim it because the one thing I hate about content creators is when they're like, "Yes, there was a ban of restricted, and now we'll read it to you." Really? Thanks. Gee, Willikers. Awesome. Wow. Okay, so they hit pretty much everything. They hit the fake format, historic. They hit Pioneer. They hit Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. The only two that came out of this pretty much unscathed was EDH and Standard. So, or Commander.
And they don't really, and Wizards doesn't handle the EDH, the Commander ban list.
And don't get me wrong, I think we'll see one. There's a lot of talk of there are some angry cards out there, or angry players about certain cards out there. But in any event, let's kind of go down the list from newest to oldest. So we're gonna start at historic because it's also the shortest. Okay, the biggest. Well, we can go with the biggest. We'll bury the lead here. The second biggest news of this is that the only thing that they did other than Uro was Omnath. They were pretty much like, nope, Omnath's still bad. We're gonna ban it. So they suspended it, and then they're like, and our data indicates that diversity and interest in the meta would be harmed by reintroducing this card now. No shit.
They really should have just
how
changed.
We doing, Ethan?
They should have changed it from now to ever.
Yeah. Omnath Locus of Creation was a card designed for Commander. It should have been in a Commander deck. It should have been a Commander exclusive. Y'all got dumb is what happened there. So I could understand them banning it in historic. It has to be. It would break the format out loud. Because if it's going to be banned in historic, it should also be banned in Pioneer, and well, we'll get there. So, but the other big news is obviously, and you're going to hear this name quite a few times. Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, is one of the most played cards in historic, and it has been for a while. This is a no-brainer. This is not surprising. Or I think there isn't anybody, unlike Oko, where a lot of us creators out there, like, we're sleeping on Oko. We didn't realize how bad Oko could be. I don't think there's anybody who, when they were doing, what was this, Ikoria, right?
This was Theros.
Theros, yeah. When they were doing the Theros pre-release, there isn't anybody who was like, "Oh, this card's not going to be big. No, nothing's going to happen here." You read that card, you're like, "So let me get this straight. It goes to the graveyard, but you get a land and 3 life, and then you can do it again. And then if it dies, and then if it and when it attacks, and if it dies, you can do it again."
It only costs 3.
Question. Oh, you know what? Even if it costs 4. Question.
4, yeah.
Hi. Yeah. That again. It's like, I really want to talk to the playtest team. So Uro being banned in Historic makes perfect sense. You see it in every blue-green deck in Historic. And I play some Historic on Arena, and I will jam it in anywhere. If I was playing 4-color Tybalt's Trickery for a while, and you better believe that card was in there. and basically they're like, look, we're not even going to suspend this thing. This card's banned. Like, we ain't even playing. So Uro's banned in Historic, which I mean is the arena it's the arena format. I'm a little dismayed about. On one hand, I understand it. On the other hand, if it was MTGO, but it's arena. So again, combat. But what do you think, Aramis? I mean, what do you think about them these two for Historic?
I mean, like you were saying, they're no brainers. I mean, Omnath and Uro were mistakes. Period. Full stop. They were mistakes. They're way too strong, way too cheap. They do too goddamn much. Obviously, they were the chase card for each of those sets, which again we'll tie into our combat. But I don't think there's really anybody other than the select few folks that you had mentioned to me before we went on the air, who are really losing any sleep over the fact that they're not going to see Uro and Omnath anymore in.
I don't think anybody wants to see them. The ire I'm seeing is the fact that Historic was where we were supposed to be able to play cards we couldn't play in Standard anymore.
True. But if the card's broken in Standard, it's going to be broken in Historic.
Exactly. It's going to be more broken in Historic, and I get that. I think you know what? I think in this situation, when you do a Historic banning, and again we'll talk about it in combat, I could see a case where you go, okay, yeah, you give me 1-for-1 when you ban it in Standard, absolutely. But if you ban it in Historic, it should be, and it's a second banning, not like a Historic anthology card that you ban.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? A 1-for-2, I could see. Again, because we can't dust. It would be one thing if you let us dust. All right, if we could dust cards.
Because of the way their economy is set up, and because of the way they do their redemptions, and because of the fact that because Magic is a paper game first and a digital game second, at least for now. But right now it's a paper game first and a digital game second. This isn't like Hearthstone where they can just, patch the card and you're fine. You can still play it, but they powered it down, they changed some stats,
right,
what have you. They can't do that with these cards because there's a paper component. You can't have 2 versions of the same card flying around because that's a bad scene.
Until they make the card that's Rick. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, but they also have it set up so that there's no dusting and everything else. But if you spent wild cards to get this, you get your wild cards refunded to you, which you break even because mythic wild cards are hard to come by. If you spent a bunch of gems to get a bunch of packs, you still get 4 mythic wild cards, which is fine because mythic wild cards are hard to get.
Right.
You shouldn't get 8 mythic wild cards for 4 mythic cards because you can only spend a wild card once.
When you ban in Historic, I think a 2-for-1 should be like.
But that's the thing.
More.
So if it was.
No. Yeah. I'm saying when I say that, I
2
mean
total. Yeah, even still.
No. Yeah. So if you have a full play set, you're only getting 2 more wild cards.
Yeah, I don't think that's good.
Here's the reason. Again, it's a feel good thing. Okay, I can't play this card anymore. It is useless in my set. It is useless in my thing, and you took it away. All right, and not only that, it costs them nothing.
It does. Yeah, it does cost them nothing.
It costs absolutely nothing. It's
But I
a
like that
way
they
to make people feel a little bit better about it and to support it and be like, hey, at least I'm going to get 2 wild cards out of it.
well they do two things. Don't forget, they don't just give you wild cards. They also um screw with the allocation of when you open packs. You don't open this card unless you have every 4 of every other mythic in that set. So now that this is banned in every format in Arena, if you open a pack of Theros Beyond Death, unless you already have every single other mythic 4 of them in that set, you're not going to open Uro. It's going to be the very last mythic that you open. Now, once you open all the mythics, you start getting gems for them, which is cool.
Right.
It would probably be preferable now that you just get the gems instead of Uro. But then again, there's also those people out there who are, collection and completionist freaks, like myself.
Yes,
It's like, I
3
want to
of
have
those,
this for
those
my
3
set.
people. Those 3 people, they could, but that could be a check mark.
But also, too, I don't know if the card, how, not that it really gets played anywhere, but what about Brawl? Is it banned in Brawl? Because if it's not banned in Brawl, I mean,
don't think
granted,
anybody's
you can only,
played. Yeah, but nobody. I don't know.
you can
Yeah,
only
it
play
is
one
because
copy.
it's a standard ban list, isn't it?
I don't think it is. I
Well,
think Brawl has
even
a separate
still-
ban list.
Even still, it's a bad look. It's a
Yeah.
bad, and that's just it. I've been listening to some other podcasts too, talking about like, well, why not Muxus, and why not yes, there are other broken cards in Historic. The Goblin mechanic in Historic is busted out loud, but there are ways around it. But I understand too that you can't go screwing with Historic too much because of you don't have a way of making it up to people later. It's not like there is a collector like with MTGO. There's an economy there of rarity, and you can trade, and it's a trading card game. This is just a collectible card game. I just kind of feel like you need to do something, but again, that's combat. But I can't agree with you more. Like, obviously, Uro was a mistake. And I also can get behind what's coming next. I mean, let's move on to Pioneer, which is the other big, the second newest format. And, they're talking about what Pioneer is in the BNR. And of course, the first thing they talk about is Uro. And again, it's one of the most dominant creatures in Pioneer. And again, it's a value engine. It's a ridiculous card as far as value goes.
It's one of the most powerful cards they've ever printed.
Right.
I mean, ever. I mean, I would probably put it like maybe, I don't know, top 25. It's up there.
I'd go top 10.
I don't know about top 10 because don't forget Power 9.
Well, of all time?
All time. I'm saying top 25 all time. Because it's just
Taking
the inevitability.
Take the Power 9 out, I would say it's in the top 10. And it might be even better than some of the P9.
No.
I know.
No, I would not. If you were in like a cube draft, you wouldn't take this over Power.
Right. So, I mean, it's a ridiculously good card. So I understand why they're banning it in Pioneer.
Stupid good.
And again, you have to make some. And again, they have to make changes right now. They have to with Pioneer and Modern especially, because the pandemic just crushed those 2 formats because they didn't have it in Arena yet. Pioneer, which had all of this momentum going into March of last year, has lost a lot of it. Nobody's playing it. You play a little bit of it on MTGO, but how many people are playing MTGO? 17? Like, I mean, a lot of people play it. I get it. But, I mean, it's ridiculous. So they needed to do something. I totally get behind that. I'm not so sure about the next one. Teferi Time Reveler. Listen, Teferi is a fun, stupid card that you have to deal with.
I'm surprised to hear you say that because I remember when it was legal in Standard, you're like, I fucking hate this card.
Oh, I absolutely hate the card. I 100% hate playing against the card. I hate playing with decks. And even when I was playing Azorius Control, you're racing to Teferi. It's pretty much who gets Teferi out first, you win.
Pretty much.
It shuts off almost an entire form of Magic. I get that. But in Pioneer, there are ways to deal with it. There are many.
Not if you get it down first. Because if you're playing Pioneer, you still have access to a lot of good counter spells.
That's true. And basically I can see what they're doing too in Pioneer, and they talk about it in the BNR. There's been one of the, I don't want to say controversies, the word criticisms. That's the word. I knew it was a C word, not that C word, but one of the criticisms has kind of been that it's been because of how they pump the power level of standard. Pioneers kind of just turn into non-rotating standard. So Teferi was going sideways in that. Wilderness Wreck was poised to do that, especially with them taking Uro out. Because they're taking Uro out, and and the other cards are taken out, which we'll talk with in a minute. I think they could tell that Wilderness Wreck was going to go sideways and explode. So
I love being right about that card every single time.
Oh God, we were right about that card. We called that all the way back in Allegiance. That was like one of our first podcasts.
Yep, because I was like, what the hell? It's an uncommon, and it's
if I remember correctly, we were talking that and Growth Spiral in the same conversation. We're like two uncommons that one ramps you and one puts it back and untaps it for you.
Yeah, Growth Spiral is a common.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I remember talking about this card when we were doing the
it's ridiculous. It's a great
insane
card. We were surprised in Standard that it wasn't more popular until the end.
Yeah, when it finally got banned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it started with the Nexus of Fate deck. We always thought but I think that was why it wasn't seeing play, is because it was part of the Nexus deck, and everybody was like, I don't want to play Nexus because I'm not a douche. But Wilderness Wreck, that's obviously if there was a card that's going to get unbanned from Pioneer at some point, might be Wilderness Wreck.
No. No. Because I would say they unbanned Teferi before they unbanned Wilderness Reclamation.
I think they understand that, this is going to, that the meta would shift with Wilderness Wreck exponentially in Pioneer.
Wilderness Wreck was another mistake.
I don't know if it was a mistake.
It was a mistake. It's a mana doubler. There are way too many ways to abuse it. I mean, we've played Wilderness Reclamation decks, and what you can do during your end step is just absurd. The amount of mana, especially since if it only triggered once and it didn't trigger for each copy, I would be much more okay with it. Like if it had a clause.
The mistake they made was not making that legendary.
Well, not even legendary. Just to say, when this ability triggers, if it has not triggered before this turn,
right,
then you can untap all your lands. So you get one trigger off it. But when you have 3 or 4 of those things out, and you're just like, oh look, I have 4, 17 to carry the 6. I don't know, all the mana.
If you get it out 4 times, then you've got to figure you have at least 8 mana. So 8 times 4, you have 32 mana at your end step.
Yeah, 32. And you're probably playing blue, or you're probably playing red, or some other combination of
Teamer, and
yeah.
At that point, the way you did it was Expansion Explosion. It was like, all right, 2 red, 2 blue, tap, untap, tap, untap, tap, untap, 27 in your face.
You could even do if you were doing for Pioneer, you could be doing 4 color shenanigans.
Yeah.
Where you'd be playing, Omnath, Reclamation, Teferi into instant speed, uncounterable Banefire. On their end step, just be like, oh, sorry, you lose.
Yeah, so all right.
So the one that actually that I found interesting were the bans to the Balustrade Spy and the Undercity Informer. I thought that was really interesting.
Well, that's a deck that kind of snuck up on people over the past couple of months. We don't talk too much Pioneer on this, but the Oops All Spells deck, that was a deck. Because of the MDFCs, you didn't have any lands in your deck. So you'd be able to mill your entire, and then count as lands in the library, and then all your stuff comes out on turn 3.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? That makes sense. Now, what they could have done was, okay, I guess I get it, because it would really break a lot of things. You can't call MDFCs with a land. I get it. So,
right, because when dual face cards are anywhere other than the stack,
right,
they are the face card.
Right. So I get it. And yeah, it was starting to bust out wide open recently. So I understand why they did it. And again, they're playing catch up. This feels like a lot of catch up. This feels like we should have banned we should have banned Uro and Teferi 6 months ago. We should have banned Uro when we banned him in standard. But I don't think they wanted to do we're banning it everywhere because they got so much egg on their face with Oko that they were like, let's just see what happens.
I mean, like, unless they were looking at data that really said it's not worth doing it at this time, I mean, they really should have just done it all at once, ripped the Band-Aid off.
Yeah,
you know, because if they knew this is where they were heading, I mean, it's not like they knew that there was an answer being printed that was gonna deal with this, because there hasn't been anything that could deal with these cards before. What makes you think, something new is going to come down the pike?
I think a few cards looking at 21, a lot of the graveyard hate they had, I think was designed for like bringing Tormod's Crypt back out of the freaking mothballs.
Like, I mean, you're running
a card you had 3 of in your sideboard anytime you were playing. You were like,
yeah, but it's for one card.
Yeah,
you're like, we're really past the point where you have silver bullet strategies in your sideboard. I mean, you don't have Circle of Protection red anymore to play against Sly decks, so nice. it's you have ways to tune your deck to adapt it to the strategy, but they're not silver bullets anymore. That's just not how the game is played. And Tormod's Crypt is a silver bullet because you can only use it once. So you're like, all right, well, do I hit this Uro or wait to see if they get a second Uro, or wait to see if I draw my second Crypt?
Right.
And by then you're buried in card advantage.
Right. So, the other big announcement was Modern. And again, these
Modern, jeez.
Boy, but yeah, they went to town on Modern. It was like
they went to town everywhere. I mean, it wasn't a ban hammer. They like reached into the back of their truck and pulled out like a freaking 50 cal and just started blowing things away.
It was a ban scythe. They were just like,
you're dead. You're dead.
Yeah. Again, same as it ever was. Uro, it was banned in this format. Shocker. I'm not surprised. They also then went on and nailed 2 newer lands that have been causing a problem in Modern. Mainly with the other cards that they banned. This one was definitely them trying to fix a problem in like going on with the Cascade stuff. But basically, they're saying, they banned 2 lands. Field of the Dead, which nobody's surprised.
Yeah,
and yes, it is used with Amulet Titan as well. And then Mystic Sanctuary, which never really was impactful in Standard. I don't think anybody was playing it very much.
Not so much in Standard. It was played a lot in. It may still see play in Vintage. I'm not sure.
It was played in Modern, it was played in Vintage for sure. Yeah. And Legacy. I mean, it was seen in kind of all the permanent formats. It wasn't seen too much in Pioneer, but definitely.
Well, modern going back have the best counterspell, so that's why you're playing Mystic Sanctuary. I mean, you can get back Cryptic Command in Modern. You can get back Force of Will and Legacy in Vintage.
Well, what was going on was they were just putting tons of crap on the top of their spell of their library with that. And Field of the Dead is just bonkers, broken sideways.
Field of the Dead is just inevitability.
Yeah,
it's one of those cards where
we have breaking.
And now, breaking news.
Yes, because when your wife types, we stop everything.
We already talked about that.
Yes. Pamela Perez is in our chat room. She says she got her butt kicked yesterday. And listen, Pam, you don't have to put up with that. Like, if you're feeling threatened or anything, there are numbers to call. Webster said it best in the 80s, man. Say no, then go and tell someone you trust.
Pretend she's ordering a pizza.
You can pretend you're ordering a pizza, my wife says. So,
yeah, I remember hearing about that.
No, but and forgive me, I don't mean to insinuate anything. I'm starting to realize I'm seeing things a lot darker. I just started a rewatch of NYPD Blue, so I'm seeing murder and sexual predators everywhere. Anyway, so, and fat naked butts from Sipowicz. Anyway, moving on. This was your fat naked butt moment of the PlanesTalkers podcast. Tell your friends.
We've lost 10%
sponsored by Budweiser. No. That part was not sponsored by Kerwin's Game Store. So anyway, they go on to say that another card that they've had their eye on, which I get this. I'm I'm sorry, Red Jail is a pain in the ass. Red Prison sucks. I hate prison decks, and I know you love them. But Simian Spirit Guide, I mean, really, that card was, yeah.
Well, Simian Spirit Guide, I saw it post on Twitter, and I think they hit the nail on the head on this one. This ban was old power versus new power.
Right.
Simian Spirit Guide were how cards were broken back in the day because it was fast mana. And now the new cards let you cheat on mana.
Right.
So it's a nice little way for them to, like you were saying, it's really a catch-up sort of a ban. They're hitting so many different things.
Right.
So they're like, okay, well, this was a problem, this was a problem, this was a problem. And I like the scope of what they did. I hate that they're banning cards. You know that. I think there's been too many.
It makes me think that maybe we're going to start seeing events again. Like
Maybe.
part of why they weren't doing things, I believe, is that really you couldn't have a Pioneer or a Modern event right now. You just couldn't. But now that, you know, the vaccine is out there and stuff, I think they're going to start moving, you know, and this is speculation. I have no insider knowledge of this whatsoever, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear that they're starting to think about, you know, doing in-person events. And I think in-person events means Modern and Pioneer for the foreseeable future. I don't think they're going to do maybe standard. Maybe once in a while, maybe on a release, they might do a standard event.
Yeah, they might be laying the very beginning groundwork to bringing paper back. I don't see it happening this year or most of next year because we may have the vaccine here, but a lot of the rest of the world still doesn't.
Oh, by the way, you know, you could have had your son play with you and handicapped you a little bit.
He picked my deck too.
Yeah, but did he play with you? Who did he play with? Your mom or his mom or you?
He didn't really play with anybody. He
Okay.
sort of looked for a couple of seconds and then saw something shiny and ran off.
There's nothing like playing Magic with your spouse. I can get that, Aramis. You're a very lucky man to be able to play Magic with your spouse. And my wife is right now telling me I'm number one. She actually is showing me that with her finger right now.
The difference is that, again, you introduced her to Commander with Atraxa on your side.
Listen, I didn't
Atraxa.
mean to. I know. Well, you know what? Now I'll just play her with
my
Omnath.
knife. He ran into my knife 13 times. Okay,
You know what? I'll just play her with Omnath.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's much better. Go from one broken 4-color commander to the other broken 4-color commander.
What?
Okay, sure.
You're right, Corvold. My bad.
That's not any better.
But
be playing Rin and Seri and let her play Atraxa.
Yes, exactly. So, well, I can't. You can't have red in Atraxa.
No, you play Rin and Seri as your commander. She plays Atraxa.
You can't
as
play
her
Rin and
commander.
Seri as a commander, I don't think.
You had a Rin and Seri deck.
I have it in the deck. I don't have it as a commander.
No.
Oh,
You
the
had a
dog?
Rin...
Oh, yeah, I'm thinking Ren and
Yes.
6. Yeah.
Not Ren and 6.
Hey, Ren and Seri isn't a terrible deck at the end of the
Exactly.
day.
So you're fine playing that. She could play the Atraxa nonsense, and then, you know, maybe
she
you
actually
start to
wouldn't
heal those
understand the
wounds.
Atraxa nonsense. She needs a straightforward. I mean, she's a very simple woman, Aramis. She's very simple.
Wow.
Simple lady. Simple-minded.
Wow.
Oh, I mean, simple.
Wonder I put my headphones on and ignore you.
Yes, she's wearing her pink cat ear headphones that I also bought her at Christmas. Like, I buy
sure
her
those aren't
everything she
yours?
wants. What's that?
You sure those aren't yours?
They are mine, actually. One week I'm going to wear them
Yes,
just
you
because
are.
I think it will be funny. I should have worn them this week. That would be a Valentine's Day thing. But all right, so
furry
let's
thing,
keep
baby.
going on here because we're still burning time. So Simian Spirit Guide I get, and then it goes on to the card that this I think is going to be a preview of more to come. I think that this one, finally, there's been much discussion about the new Tybalt's Trickery. I think we're going to see that. I don't think it's going to stay in Modern. I think at least Pioneer.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, because they explained it. They said, you know, basically the deck's not winning that much,
Right.
but it does create the possibility of non-games.
Right.
I don't think Pioneer and Standard, there's not as much crazy bull crap that you can do with Tybalt's Trickery. There's still the potential. It's still there. I think they're so much worse in those two formats where they're memes. They're going to show up every now and then.
I think
It's
Pioneer.
not a legitimate strategy.
Pioneer. The problem is Emrakul. Pioneer, the problem is Emrakul. Is turn 2 Emrakul.
Yeah, but
I think I think once, now that you've gotten rid of, here's the thing, because that's the thing too, is that I think a lot of people weren't brewing with it or playing around with it, because it is a busted card, but they were like, well, I have Uro. Why would I do that? Blah blah blah. Now they're going to be like, well, I can't play Uro anymore. I can't play Oops All Spells anymore. So yeah, let's try this. First of all, I'd like to know why Oops All Spells isn't being played in Modern.
the cards aren't there.
Yeah, that's true. So, well, no, there's too many other cards that can kill.
Yeah,
it.
there's too much other stuff that goes on. Modern.
And why would you ever play
format.
Modern without fetch? Like, you want your fetches. So.
Well, if you're playing Oops All Spells, then
Yeah,
who
you
cares
don't
about
care.
fetch lands?
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, it's
not
Tybalt's
as
trickery. Banning Tybalt's trickery in Modern is an interesting thing. I mean, they coupled that with, we haven't really even talked about this, they also changed the rules for Cascade.
Yeah, that's coming up next. So
We'll get to that, but so they recognize the problem with this card and try to fix the ways that it gets broken. So, and that's the thing too, by banning it in Modern.
No, this didn't have as much to do with Tybalt's trickery as Tybalt had with Cascade.
Yeah, but you Tybalt trickery into
Tybalt, yeah.
and you can cascade into it gets gross.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's keep going here. We talked about we'll briefly brush Legacy because not too many of us play Legacy or Vintage. Legacy, they finally nailed the one place it could play. Oko is gone. I think Oko is officially banned in every format except Commander and Vintage.
So. Commander and Vintage, I think, is still legal.
Arkham's Astrolabe, which they nailed in Modern last year, which because of Snowco and basically
and being able to play multicolored decks with no penalty and not have to worry about Blood Moon.
And then an interesting one was Dreadhorde Arcanist, and I think they're doing that because they wanted to nail a newer card without nailing. It's hard to ban anything in Legacy. It really is, because these cards are 25, 35 years, 25, 26 years old. Like,
Dreadhorde Arcanist is actually deceptively powerful.
Yeah, it is deceptively powerful, and it's new. So you can get away with banning that without anybody bitching. In fact, all three of these cards, if you think about it, all have come out in the last 3 years.
But think about that though too. With Dreadhorde Arcanist, granted you don't have Power 9 in Legacy, but how many disgusting one-drop spells are there?
Well,
in
it's
Legacy?
Temur Delver.
Yeah, so there's so much crap that you can do with Dreadhorde Arcanist that it needed to go.
Yep.
I'm glad that they decided, hey, if we're banning this and this, we already know what's going to be at the top of the heap and what's going to be a problem. It's going to be this card.
Well,
so
it was anyway. It was
the head
already
off the snake
because
when we
of
have the chance.
how many turn 1, turn 2 wins you have in Legacy, which means 1 or 2 mana spells. Arcanist is busted and broken. I get it.
Yeah, Arcanist needed to go, and I'm glad that it did. So what they did was they sort of anticipated a problem coming and stopped it before it became a problem, which is good. Granted, like you said, Legacy isn't as popular as other formats for, reserved list reasons.
Yes. Which we need to get rid of that,
list?
but anyway. And then,
but yeah.
And then obviously in Vintage they unbanned Loris, which makes sense because of the damn companion nerf.
It's a big deal. I think this is a big deal. I think this is the most interesting thing for the entire banned and restricted list.
Okay. Win me over on that one, because I think this is just because they nerfed companions so big that
you can still have insane turns with Loris.
Right.
Because you can't play it in the deck anyway if it's your companion. Because every permanent in your starting deck has to be converted mana cost 2 or less, and Loris costs 3. So if you're playing this as your companion, it's as your companion. If you have, granted, this is sort of Magical Christmas Land, but if you have an opening hand of...
all you can do is Black Lotus into it.
Well, land Mox Lotus.
Right.
Because you need the 3 mana to get it into your hand now. Use the 3 lands, get Lotus in your hand, you cast Lotus, sack Lotus, cast Lotus, bring the Lotus back, cast it again into Time Twister or Time Walk, and you're off to the races. I think this is important and this is unique because, one, they never ban cards in Vintage.
Right.
And they banned this card for power level reasons back before they
banned
changed
it before it was even released.
That was a different one.
No, they did. I do believe this got
banned. That was Lutri.
I do believe
Lewis was banned very shortly after it became tournament legal because of just it's an insane card. So they banned it for power level reasons. Then they errated the rules for companion, and they're like, all right, well, companions aren't as powerful. This one is unique because of vintage and because of all the disgusting things that cost 2 or less and what you can do by building a deck around it. So they've even said they're experimenting. They want to unban it, see how it does. They've already said that they can see themselves banning this card again. They want to give it a chance to see if they fixed it.
Right.
I'm not sure that they have. I think it's going to be one of those cards now that's extremely good, but not to the point where
I think the
banned.
companion tax is
it's enough. It's enough to keep it to where it's not disgusting.
Right.
But it's still going to be a very powerful and viable strategy in vintage because of the potential explosiveness that you have. 3-mana tax aside, vintage has no problem generating mana.
True.
That format has zero problem generating ridiculous amounts of mana. So I like that they're doing this. They want to see kind of what happens because restricting it does absolutely nothing.
Right.
This card will either be fine or it will be banned.
Right.
They're giving it one more chance. I kind of like that they're doing that because it's so rare. So for me, that's why it's so interesting because this is a format that doesn't change very much. It's very hard for cards to break into vintage, let alone be a new card and go, oh shit, this card's way too good.
I don't think it's as hard anymore. I mean, we see it on every release.
It's been happening lately, yeah, because the new Narset Harder of Veils was War of the Spark. Oko, Luris. So it has been happening.
I don't think there's a set that hasn't had anything like that.
Up until the last year or so, new cards making a big splash in vintage were hard to come by, because there's just that core, and that if you can't break into that, you're not going to see that much play. But again, since it's vintage, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
And I like what they're doing. I like that they're saying, all right, look, we changed the rule. Let's see how this goes, because they're not going to get any data if nobody's playing it. So I like this one. I like it.
And the other big rule that they changed, they actually made the rule change that we kind of suggested. They changed the Cascade rule to be more of, it's now not the card but the spell on the card.
Well, it's not as elegant as that. It's not as simple as that.
Right.
So the old rule was that you can cast the spell if it costs less. Now what they're saying is you can cast the spell if you cost less. But now when you actually go to cast the spell, it still has to cost less than the original cascaded card. Sort of to water it down a little bit. The actual ruling now says when you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card whose converted mana cost is less than this spell's converted mana cost. You may cast that spell without paying its mana cost. If its converted mana cost is less than this spell's converted mana cost, then you do the rest of the thing. What that gets around is the modal dual phase cards, specifically Valky.
Right.
So you cast Bloodbraid Elf, you go into Valky. Before you could say, well, at least the Valky half costs less, so I'm casting the Tybalt half, even though it's 7 mana for free. Now it's saying, all right, you have this card. What part of it costs less? Because if both halves still cost less, then you can still cast either side.
Right.
And they also it also doesn't change how it works with split cards.
No,
split cards
are still combined.
They combine that one, yeah. So they fixed this interaction, which I don't think was
stupid. By the way, I think if you're going to do it for dual cards, you should do it for dual face cards.
Split cards are different than dual face cards, though. It's a totally different mechanic. It's just the way that it works is differently because it's on one side. It's on one side of the card.
So what?
So when it looks at the card, it looks at all the information on that side of the card. Whereas with a modal dual face card, when it's not on the stack, it's looking at just the face card.
It is us, right? It is humans. It is like if I put a card down and wait for anyone other than me or another Magic player to interpret what the card does, like, I'm sorry, like originally the dual cards were supposed to be like 2 cards in one, which is why they were adding up the mana cost. Like, what's the difference? The reason they're doing MDFC, let's be honest, is because they want to write novels on these cards. All right, you couldn't do you have to do a dual face card because at the end of the day, you can't do a split card with Vorinclex and Valky, even just
the Valky card
Yeah,
itself. It's a
you
Planeswalker
couldn't.
on one
Yeah,
side.
with a Planeswalker, you couldn't do it. So I'm sorry. I kind of look at this going, MDFCs. I actually would have thought and have always thought when they first printed them, they were either a spell or a land. There really wasn't a spell on both sides. Now with this one, it doesn't make sense to me that the converted mana cost for that card is not both, unless you can cast both.
Because the way that they wrote the rules.
Right. I
is
understand
that-
the way they wrote the rules. It
Yeah,
just
it's,
doesn't make
it's
any
because
sense.
it's whatever information is visible to the player is the information that you get. Because in the split cards, the information is completely visible on both sides. You see both sides of the card, so you
Right.
know all of it. With the mold dual face card, you don't get all the information.
Okay.
That's the only way. That's probably the best way that they could solve it. Because if they had to do that,
I understood that with the transformation mechanic, with the transform mechanic in Innistrad, which we're going to see. You know that's coming
Yeah.
back.
well, the only difference between this and transform is that you're picking which side of the transformation you're
Right.
doing up front instead of having to
So-
wait for something to happen. So
But
it's
obviously,
like
they
the
had to
reverse
do-
end of it.
They had to do something with Cascade. We said it last week.
Yeah,
had
and they
to,
did, which is good.
obvious, Yeah. So but we're kind of burning through the. Dude, we're at 55 minutes now. So
Told you.
yeah, no kidding. Let's do a little bit of combat because I do think we have to talk about that because I think Wizards, we gotta call them out already.
Combat phase.
All right, so here's the thing. All right, I'm looking at this banned and restricted list, and I'm also looking at like I listen to a lot of other content creators and stuff, and a lot of people are talking about the fact that it seems like Wizards somewhere along the line in the last couple of years have changed their modus operandi, their MO, the way they do things. They used to really pride themselves on not banning cards. They weren't trying to be Yu-Gi-Oh! Like Yu-Gi-Oh! Bans a card every 7 minutes. They were basically like, no, they were really working on testing. And that's obvious. And now they've come out recently and said things like they don't test for Modern, and that's ridiculously obvious with Valky. They don't test with all the eternal formats. So, but yet it seems like, and people are asking, and I'm going to ask this question, do you think that Wizards has changed their ideals and they're looking at it from a profit perspective in that they want to sell these boxes? Okay, the boxes are the big thing now. Now they've got the collector booster boxes and the set booster boxes. And, so are they making broken cards that they just know they can ban once they have sold all of their cards and basically screw the LGS even more because the LGS make their money on the secondary market. And if you ban Uro is going to go down now significantly. I got to imagine it's going to plummet, which means a card that Kerwin's Game Store could have sold last week for 25, they may have to sell now for 10. And they may have paid 10 to somebody to buy it. So, do you think that's what's happening? Do you think that this is what's happening now? Is that they're just like, we're going to build busted, incredibly insane cards. We're going to amp the power level, and then we'll fix it with bans afterward, which, screws everybody else except us.
Short answer, no.
Okay.
Longer answer, it's complicated. Now, don't forget, a few years ago, Wizards implemented their fire policy for their new
Right.
sets. It's an acronym which stands for something which I think is just F everyone in retail something. I don't know. But they basically said that they're going to be pushing the power level.
I think
they
it
wanna
said
see
basically fuck them in retail everywhere. With one
I
word,
wasn't gonna
fuck 'em.
go
Yeah.
there, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's some overarching scheme by Wizards to say screw the LGS in regards to singles.
I don't think
we're
it's
gonna
the
make these.
LGS. I don't think it has
Well,
anything to do with it. I think the LGS.
We're gonna make these cards, sell the boxes. Once they're sold, we're gonna start banning cards. I don't think it's necessarily that. From the testing aspect of it, we've sort of hit this before,
Right.
where I have to rein in my criticism a little bit of them because, yes, they don't test for eternal formats, but there are, as of this recording, over 20,000 individual Magic cards with hundreds of mechanics across hundreds of sets. You can't anticipate every interaction with every new card. You just can't. No new sets wouldn't be able to come out except for like once every couple of years.
Cascade was not a deck in Modern. I can give you
no,
that.
yeah, and
I can give you that.
Cascade was an existing mechanic, and they may not have foreseen this particular interaction.
But they know what the top 10 decks are in Modern. And again,
yeah, but
these cards break Modern and make new top 10 decks.
So,
I get that.
So what I'm getting at is that I don't think that they are purposely doing this. Is it happening? Yes. So it's a complicated answer. I don't think I don't think Magic is turning into Yu-Gi-Oh. If that's your concern. I don't think Magic is turning into Yu-Gi-Oh. I do think that they want to avoid bans whenever possible because they know the ramifications of that. They know that people are buying up these boxes, spending all this money to get these cards, only to have them turn around and get banned, literally weeks later or right before the set's release in Omnath's case.
So
I think what they're trying to do is what I had mentioned before. They're pushing the envelope as far as they can. They want to see how far they can go with these cards. And right now they're doing the corrections after the fact. I think over the next couple of years, I think once we're done with this year's group of sets, I think this is when we're going to start to see them start to draw it back a little bit, because they've seen how far they can go with War of the Spark, Throne of Eldraine, Ikoria, Theros. Hell, Paulheim has a card that's been banned already. I think they've seen how far they can go, and I think they're pulling it back a little bit after this year.
Let me give you the Republican response.
Oh God.
Listen, I have been a supporter of Wizards and still am to some extent. However, and I've given them the benefit of the doubt as many times as I possibly can. And it might be the trial by wombat talking. However, I disagree. I think Wizards being owned by Hasbro is a Fortune 500 company that answers to shareholders. And that Magic is nothing more to them than a line on a spreadsheet. And if that line stays green, they stay in business. If that line goes red, now they're looking at divesting themselves of this dud and selling it for less than it's worth. And somebody like Yu-Gi-Oh might take the game and destroy it. All right, so I get that.
I guarantee you, if Magic the Gathering ever goes up for sale,
Konami will be right in there.
Not necessarily Konami, but someone will buy it, and someone will maintain the game to a certain extent. I think
unless you get a Konami who are going to be like Disney and be like, screw off, like Yu-Gi-Oh's the better card set anyway. In any event, I do believe that I'm starting to really think that this is, if not a planned, like they sat there in a boardroom a year and a half ago and said, this is the way we should go. I think after the Oko mishap, or maybe it wasn't a mishap, but I think after Oko, it's hard to look at things and go, wow. And now it's been a year. Okay. And we said, if this is happening this time next year, like we've got problems. I think, they don't make money from the secondary market at all. They stop making money a month or two after the set is released. Like they obviously get a little bit, they get none of the kickbacks from Walmart. So even though they're in the stores until next year, they sold all of their inventory. They have made their nut. And if you build these cards like Uro, like Omnath, like Oko, like all of these cards that have to be banned, okay, then from their perspective, people are going to go out buying the card. And it started, I think, with Scarab God. People were buying Amonkhet going, God, I hope I get a Scarab God.
Well, that was more for the invocations.
Right. But at the end of the day, I do think that there is some legitimacy to the people that are sitting there going, it looks like Wizards is selling us out. Now, I think there are two divisions in Wizards. There is the financial money number cruncher division, and then there's the game people in Wizards who are like, we need to protect the integrity of the game. And so they get to come in afterward and go, wait, we have to ban this. This card is breaking our product now that it's out there. So in that regard, okay, it's happening. But I think now they're saying, well, we'll count on the card division people to come and tell us, hey, this is breaking our competitiveness, which is making it harder for us to sell future packs and future sets. I don't think anything can, I don't know what could stop it at this point. I really don't.
Quick counter to one of the things you had mentioned
Right.
earlier. Back in the day, this trading card game right here, Pokemon.
Yeah.
When it first came out, you know who made it?
Wizards.
Wizards of the Coast.
Right.
They don't make it anymore.
It was,
Now, granted, it
was for
has
kids.
the backing of Nintendo.
Right.
Has still a very viable competitive market. Is still selling like crazy. It talks to people who work at Kerwin's. They have a very almost impossible time keeping this stuff in stock.
Right. Well, I mean, they're doing 30
So
days of
I'm just saying
opening packs.
there's precedent to a card game being sold off and still being successful.
Yes, of course.
I think Magic, especially since it was the original, if nothing else, Wizards of the Coast probably still has enough capital. Even if they're spun off, they could probably still maintain this game.
I hope so, because I do think that there is some corporate shenanigans going on with this. I think that there is a mandate to Rosewater at this point to amp it, to don't just put your foot on the gas and lightly press pressure. Put it to the floor, and if the floor won't break, then get a jackhammer and make a hole, because some of what's happening, there's no other way around it. Uro was banned in every format today or Monday.
It's not Legacy. They're looking at it in Legacy, and it's still legal in Vintage.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was banned in almost every format. In every format that most people can play. Okay, let's be honest. Legacy and Vintage, that's, hey, I got an inheritance. I think I'm going to go buy some cards. Okay.
Or you've been playing since the beginning and never stopped.
Yeah. So that is not an approachable level of Magic. When I say every format, I mean Modern, Pioneer, Standard, all of that stuff, Historic. It's banned in all of those. Okay, the approachable formats, the ones that they design product for. They do not make a Legacy anthology. Okay, they make Modern anthologies and Pioneers. So no, I do think that Wizards had, if not Wizards, at least Hasbro, that the corporate overlords have said to them, hey, this is how it's got to be. All right. And again, it's about the bottom line. And I get that. I'm a capitalist. I'm all for it. Make the money. But then just be honest about it. Be like, we are going to ban cards, and we're going to change our philosophy, and we're going to put in cards that are busted out loud. And they can't do that, because the minute you say we reserve the right to ban these cards, even though we know you can do it, people will be like, well, why would I spend the money?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's just it. I mean, think about it. You and I, on the usual now, not counting what we get from Kerwin's, okay? On the usual, you and I are opening at least 2 boxes. Sometimes 3. We have had sets where we open 3. So there is a certain level to that, okay? And a lot of that is, God, what do we open? I mean, 2 weeks ago with the set booster, we did a showdown because we wanted to see who made more money. And the last time we did it with collector boosters. Mm-hmm. It's because it's interesting and it's fun to watch, but it's also like, did I get a Ren in 6? I'm sorry. I do feel that there is some legitimacy to that. I think Wizards needs to go back to the drawing board. They need to come out and be like, look, this is what we're doing. And either say, this is what we're doing and we're not going to stop, or, hey, we tried it. We're worried that we're going to, lose you guys. And, but I don't know that they'll do that.
Well, early returns.
Yeah.
Obviously very early, because it happened yesterday. Yesterday, the ban happened, and Uro was selling for around $39.80. Today, it's selling for $40.
Well,
it actually went up. Now, like I said, early returns, but it's been holding steady, and it seems like the consensus is the price might fall a little bit, but
the price is going to fall.
Be,
the price is going to fall out from underneath it.
Not that much, I don't think, because it's still legal in
I'm showing
Legacy,
it for 20. I'm
Command.
already throwing it for 20 on TCG. Not a promo pack, not the extended art. $20.
Yeah, I'm seeing $30.
What, MTG Goldfish or
eBay?
Okay. Well, that's eBay. That's not
They get price points from that too for
yeah,
TCG.
but that's not the stores. That's
that is stores though. That is also stores.
Some of it is, some of it's actually,
But I don't think Uro is going to drop to like this $10 card. It's just not going to happen.
I think it'll drop to at least, well, what's Oko sitting at now? Because Oko was a $50-$60 card.
Oko's $20 still.
Yeah. So again, it was 50.
It's actually been going up.
Highest price was 67.61. Lowest price 12.27.
Yeah, so it's gone up since then though. It's been climbing. The price has been climbing.
Well,
so, this is since September.
Right.
So it's obviously too early to tell, but I don't see like the prices of Uros like collapsing because of this. It's still a highly desirable card from a set that there wasn't that much open from. It's also a mythic, and it's probably going to be one of the harder mythics to get a hold of. So
right. Well, its highest price was $59.18. Its lowest price is $20, and according to TCG Player, it's $22.99.
And 59.18, or 67.61 for Oko, that was at the height of
What's at
when
the
it was being
height of
played
Oko.
in Standard. It was right before it was banned,
Right.
and even then, it didn't drop that much.
No, it didn't, because it was still available. So
yeah.
I do think that there should be and that's it. And the thing that they're really worried about with Historic is Arena. Like you can that's part of why I think this too is like you look at a Historic, okay, 2 bans. Well, not 2 bans, like 1 continuing, or we're going to continue banning Omnath. But they banned Uro. They didn't touch any. They unbanned the only anthology card that they've suspended. And they haven't even touched, and I'm sorry, the Goblin deck in there is, Muxus is ridiculous in that format.
But here's the problem too, is you play best of 1. You don't play best of 3.
I do play best of 3. In Historic, and it is still ridiculous. It's hard to beat a Muxus. If they can get it out, they win. And again, I understand that that's Magic and there are other cards, but I'm telling you that that's a card that they could ban, Muxus, and Goblins would still be a playable.
Goblins is only like 2% of the meta in Historic right now.
Well, it's
2%. It's like the sacrifice, the Jund sacrifice, and Gruul aggro.
Right, and again, people are talking about that too. Like maybe the cat needs to go in. Actually, Mayhem Devil is the one that they're like everybody's eyes on.
Goblins suck when you run into it, but it's not. It's an aggro deck in a meta that's full of aggro decks.
Right.
So
I guess the point I'm making to you though is there are other cards they could ban in Historic, but they don't want to ban things in Historic because it's Arena.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that tinfoily. I think Historic.
Hey Jamie, sorry I didn't get the episode out last week, buddy. I know you listened to us mainly on Spotify. It's up there now. Last week's is up today, and then tonight's will be up sometime.
I think Historic is in a relatively decent spot right now. Now that they've gotten rid of Uro,
I'm a big fan. I'm playing Historic quite a bit still. So
the format has a chance to breathe now that Uro is gone, and we'll see what happens. I mean, get Uro, get that aspect of ramp out of the game. Let's see what happens. I think that's fair, right?
I don't disagree, but we're a little bit over, so we're gonna skip main 2, and we're gonna play. What the hell's the name of that card? We're gonna end the turn right now. Shit, what the hell's the name of that card?
There's a few of them that do that.
Yeah, there was a card played on me today, actually.
Discontinuity?
Yeah, discontinuity. We're going to cast a discontinuity and just go right to...
End step.
All right. Unless you got something else, Aramis.
No, I think we're good.
All right. So Aramis and I are going to start packing up our cards here. We're going to start rolling up our playmats, take our pizza boxes over to the trash because, damn it, your mother still does not work in this video store. Oh, my God, video store? Did I say video store?
Wow.
Wow. All right. Welcome to Blockbuster. How can I help you? Anyway, we want to
there's
remind
still
you,
one left.
we want to remind you, we do have a Twitch channel where we stream all sorts of content there. So look us up over there. It's PlanesTalkers Podcast. This show is put there. You can follow me on Twitch there as well at Mindcrime73. But everything we do goes up there. We do play some Arena occasionally, but really lately it's been a lot of this stuff and the Playcast. So that's where you can find us Wednesday night when we play Paper Magic. So come on over to Twitch, PlanesTalkers Podcast, and look us up.
Yep, and if you'd rather interact with us in a more real-time, up-to-the-second fashion, you can join our Discord. That is discord.planestalkerspodcast.com. And if you want to catch us on Twitter, if that's more your speed, you can find us there at PlanesTalkerPod.
And I have a personal Twitter. You can follow me there at WR Benson, but really, I'm just there to follow my favorite actor from Scrubs, John C. McGinley.
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong.
I don't even think he has a Twitter. You can always follow us there, but also check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/PlanesTalker, no S on the end, mainly because some jerk took that name before we could. And like and follow our page there. And don't forget, we like I said, we stream everything there. We stream it on Twitch. This Wednesday night, we'll be playing Paper Commander live using the precons. So tune in there. It's our PlanesTalkers Playcast, Wednesday around 7 Eastern.
And finally, if you want to get in touch with us via email, maybe you have a suggestion for the show, a comment, a question for one of us about the game, there's 3 different ways that you can email us. The main email address for the show is podcast@planestalkerspodcast.com. If you want to email us personally, Will's email is will@planestalkerspodcast.com, and my email is aramis@planestalkerspodcast.com.
And then, of course, you can always email me at superhottiewill@gmail.com. I'm just kidding. I don't have that name. But we want to remind you guys as well, I do host another podcast on the dealing with the television show DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Unfortunately, that show is not coming off hiatus, although Flash is. But you can check us out over there. Just look us up on Facebook, Legends TV Talk. And we want to remind you about our iTunes reviews. Listen, guys, if you don't want to be a patron, we totally get that. Money's tight, whatever. You can really, really help the show out by just leaving us an iTunes review. And I know that a lot of people out there are running Android, and I still can't figure out for the life of me why. But, if you're running an Android phone and you don't want to use iTunes on your phone because you can't, just download it to your computer, log in, create an account, go over to our site, and leave us a review there. 5 stars with a good comment. We read them on the show. We've read every single one. In fact, we made a 4-star, a 5-star because I threw the guy across the coals. So again, and usually, again, if you end your review with, and that Will is one hot hunk of man, I just want to have that in every review going forward. So again, remember to end your podcast review with, and that Will is one hot hunk of man. I just think it'll be funny for anybody who comes across it.
Or don't. Spare us all.
No. You definitely should. So on that note, we want to thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight, for coming alongside us. We'll be back next Monday night with our regular show. And tomorrow night, we have our playcast where we'll be playing the Kaldheim Precons. I will be playing either Elves or Blue-White. We don't know yet. I still haven't even opened them. But hopefully you guys come and check it out. We will be back then as well. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging with us. And remember, guys, to always leave some of your mana untapped because you never know when you need it. Take care. And for Aramis Perez, have a great week. Bye-bye. Yeah, I can't speak tonight. I was flubbing all of it tonight. That was just insane. Yeah, it's all good. I know. Because I'm professional. I'm professional. I'm drinking.
Freaking Wombat pissed.
Oh, dude, that trial by Wombat is actually really, really good. And it's not that strong. It's only 7.5. I mean, it's a very tasty. It went down real easy. So, and there are jokes there.
Boy, guess they haven't fixed that yet.
What?
Pringles.
Oh, yeah, there's Pringles. Why? What'd you get?
That's the Kaldheim Commander deck foil.
Oh, jeepers.
It was in a sleeve, too. Look at that.
Damn, that's just wrong.
If I stand up on its own. Let me see if I can stand it up.
WB.
Almost stand them up.
So, what do you want to play tomorrow?
You go ahead and play the elf deck. It's probably more aggro. Okay. Oh, I can stand it up. Holy shit.
So tomorrow, dude, no. Tomorrow for the playcast, when we go on screen, Have yours doing that.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's
All right.
pathetic.
Well, I'll sleeve up and shuffle up both decks just in case we want to swap
Yeah.
around. And
I'll
I don't
play
know.
the
Do we
Foretell
want to
deck.
try to do two-headed giant? I don't think. I don't know how he'd share like cards across the cam and shit. So
I'm not a fan.
all right. Well, that's fine. And
Very
yes, we do
different
need to
fine.
come up with a scoring system because, damn it, I'm winning a ton.
Yep,
I-
none of it counts. I don't even have it marked.
Yeah. Well, you should be keeping track because it's still win loss.
Well, there's no sense of keeping track of it if we don't know what the points are for.
Right, but there's just I've won 3 out of the last 5. I think I might have caught up to you.
I got nothing. Different season.
Dick.
I got nothing.
Wait, did I pass you yet?
You probably did.
I'm coming for you, Steve. The Hulkamania is coming down on you.
Probably
My
did.
God, my wife is watching another Dua Lipa video. She is all about that Dua Lipa chick. Like
Don't
she's
even know
some
who that
singer,
is.
and she's not bad. You know what? For new music, she's not horrible. Like I've often said that music stopped being made around the year 2005.
Oh boy, old man screaming at cloud again. Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. Yep. I'm yelling at kids to get off my lawn too, and
Yeah, you are totally doing
in
that.
about a
man.
half hour, I'm gonna have some peanut brittle. And
You are doing what your parents did about your music.
No. My
Oh
parents,
yeah.
No, I actually had to hide that I liked rock. My father was a country musician,
There
so
you
I
go.
was always worried about just disappointing him. He wouldn't have cared. It's just when you're a kid, you're like you don't want to disappoint your parents, but I'm like, and my dad really hated rock, so I'd be like, I really like this. I can't like it. So Scuba, what's happening? So yeah, I was like, dang it. But yeah, this Dua Lipa's not horrible. Like she's tolerable. We're going on vacation in July, and Wendy's already talking about like, oh, we're gonna have that in the mix. I'm like, oh fuck, no, we aren't. She can't hear me either, which is good because she's got the Dua Lipa playing, so we can talk about her now in complete impunity. So
That's you. I got nothing. I got nothing bad to say.
I never have anything bad to say. What do you mean bad? I'm not saying anything bad. That's my wife. I love my wife. I'm a very
And
lucky
the bruises
man.
on your arms show it.
Huh?
And the bruises on your arms prove it.
Well, it's funny. You know what today would have been, right? Today would have been 19 years with my ex-wife. I was like, oh, okay, that's February 16th. That's my old anniversary. All right. And then I did the math quick in my head. I'm like, oh shit, this would have been 19 years.
Huh.
Okay. I'm happier now. So,
I would hope so. All right.
but yes,
Dropbox, you should have.
it's in Dropbox. Okay, I got this. All right. So tomorrow night, right around the 7 o'clock-ish hour,
Yeah.
it should be pretty good. We're gonna have a good time. I'll try to find
Yeah.
some sleeves tomorrow to sleeve these up.
Yeah, I'm basically all set. I just have to sleeve up the Foretell deck, and then I'll
Yeah.
be good.
That'll be a lot of fun. All right. Well, we'll see you
Back to
tomorrow,
the
guys. We're gonna head on out of here because it's getting late. It's already 9:30. But we'll see you guys tomorrow night for our playcast.